Polar recently released the Grid X2 Pro, bringing their outdoor sports watch segment up to date. On the other hand, Garmin offers a very similar watch with the Epix Pro. So both of these watches carry the term Pro, but how much Pro do they actually offer? Both watches have some similarities but also some key differences, and we will discuss these in today's video. In this video we won't talk about all the features of both watches because they have some similarities. Instead we will really focus on the differences so that you know which of these watches is the best choice for you. So let's get started and have fun. This comparison makes sense in the first place because both watches head in a similar direction. They are both AMOLED sports watches designed for outdoor athletes and are priced similarly as well. The Polar Grid X2 Pro comes in two versions, a standard version currently priced at around $750 and a titanium version at around $870. With the Epix Pro, as is often the case with Garmin, you have a larger selection of different models. There are 3 different case sizes and a choice between a standard and a sapphire version. Depending on the model you choose, you currently pay between $700 and $900. The medium-sized sapphire model, which is probably the one most comparable to the Polar Grid X2 Pro, costs about $800. Personally, I have the larger version of the Epix Pro here. It has a case diameter of 51mm, is 14.9mm thick and weighs 88 grams including the strap. The sapphire version uses sapphire glass of course, and the case is mostly made of titanium. The standard version uses Gorilla Glass and stainless steel instead. The Grid X2 Pro has a case diameter of 48.6mm, is 13.4mm thick and weighs 64 grams including the strap. It is thinner and noticeably lighter than the Epix Pro, even in its slightly smaller 47mm version. Generally though, both watches are neither light nor skin, as they are typical outdoor sports watches. They are very robust and high quality, and in the case of the Epix Pro, which I have worn regularly for about a year now, I can also attest to its durability. I've only had the Grid X2 Pro for a short time now because it was just published, but it also makes a very solid impression. Additionally, I really like the compass markings around the bezel. The Grid X2 Pro has a water resistance rating of WR100 and Garmin states 10 ATM, both indicating the same water resistance of up to 100 meters, so you can swim and dive with both watches without any issues. Both manufacturers have chosen AMOLED for the display technology, meaning super bright, vibrant colors and high contrasts. On paper, the Garmin watch has a maximum brightness of 1000 nits, while the Polar watch reaches 1050 nits. This minimal difference is not noticeable in reality, as both watches are generally very bright and easy to read. The Grid X2 Pro has a 1.39-inch display with a resolution of 454 x 454 pixels, while the medium-sized Epix Pro has a 1.3-inch display with 416 x 416 pixels, and the larger version has a 1.4-inch display with also 454 x 454 pixels. So again, very similar values, but the Grid X2 Pro makes slightly better use of space with thinner display edges. Both watches can be operated via touch and 5 buttons on the case edge, although these are arranged differently and serve different functions. But let's not dwell too much on the external appearance of both watches, as this is the area with the least differences. Both are really high quality and robust sports watches clearly designed for the outdoors. Personally, I would give a slight edge to the Grid X2 Pro in terms of aesthetics, but like I said, this is highly subjective and we're talking about very small differences here. For outdoor athletes, battery life is of course a crucial factor. Polar states that the Grid X2 Pro can last up to 10 days in smartwatch mode and up to 43 hours in training mode. The Garmin Epix Pro in the medium-sized version claims up to 16 days and up to 42 hours in GPS mode. Both watches also offer various power-saving modes. For instance, the Polar Grid X2 Pro can last up to 5.8 days in an extra power-saving training mode, while the Epix Pro offers many modes, with the Extreme Expedition mode allowing for up to 14 days. However, these extreme modes are really meant for extreme scenarios, so personally I've never really used the Expedition mode on the Garmin watch, for example. So let's rather take a look at some more practical examples. Like I said, I have the 51mm version of the Epix Pro here. It would definitely be a better comparison to take the medium-sized Epix Pro, but still here's a glimpse into a typical day in my testing phase. In a 60-minute run with multiband and always on display, the Epix Pro in the 51mm version uses about 3 to 4% of the battery, lasting around 30 hours, which more or less matches the manufacturer's claims. The Polar Grid X2 Pro also consumes 3 to 4% during the same session, so there isn't much difference in battery life during workout recording between the two watches. But it's different in everyday use. On a normal day where I record this 1-hour training session, the Epix Pro without always on mode consumes about 7%, so lasting around 2 weeks. The Grid X2 Pro consumes about 10 to 11%, lasting roughly 10 days. So both offer excellent battery life, but the Epix Pro has a slight edge here. As mentioned several times before, both models are outdoor sports watches. So let's now focus on the specific outdoor features, because here we can definitely find significant differences between both watches, especially talking about navigation. But firstly, both of these watches can navigate. The Grid X2 Pro comes with pre-installed maps of North America and Europe, with other regions available for free download via computer. Navigation is done through the Komoot app, allowing you to load routes onto the watch and navigate using topographic maps and turn-by-turn directions. In addition to Komoot, the Grid X2 Pro is also compatible with Strava. This is generally very useful, of course, but navigation on these maps is still a bit limited. You can use a back to start feature to retrace your steps or take a straight line back to the start, but the maps are not routing capable, meaning you cannot create new routes on the watch. And this is the crucial difference to the Garmin Epix Pro. With the Polar watch, you plan your routes in advance, load them onto the watch, and get turn-by-turn directions to complete the route. Essentially, you just have map images below the GPX track data, so this works if you load routes onto the watch in advance, but like I said, you cannot create new routes on the watch directly. So if you get lost with the Grid X2 Pro, you can either retrace your exact steps or take a straight line back to the start. The Garmin Epix Pro, however, offers all of this as well, with topographic maps and navigation, plus the ability to create new routes on the watch. You can search for restaurants, gas stations or other points of interest on the watch and navigate to them. Additionally, there's the up ahead feature, where you can set specific waypoints on a route, and the watch will then show which waypoints are coming up and how far away they are. There's also a round trip routing feature, where you specify a distance and the watch suggests nearby routes. It's also nice that you can display data fields on the map. So overall, the Epix Pro functions as a small, proper navigation system, giving it a clear advantage over the Grid X2 Pro. Especially when you're in areas without well-marked roads or paths, or if you ever get lost. The routing capability of the Epix Pro is a significant advantage. But there are more differences in outdoor features. The Epix Pro offers weather overlays, allowing you to see things such as cloud cover, temperature and wind on the map, showing how these will change in the coming hours, like a weather radar. This is very useful for assessing weather conditions. While the Polar Grid X2 Pro also has a weather widget, it doesn't have these overlays. Another outdoor feature that might seem trivial but is actually quite useful is the flashlight. The Epix Pro has an LED flashlight at the top edge of the case, which you can activate with a simple double click. Like I said, it might sound trivial or unnecessary, but I've come to love this feature so much and I use it more often than I thought over the past year, and yeah, I just wouldn't want to be without it anymore. The Polar Grid X2 Pro doesn't have this, but it does offer a flashlight mode where the display lights up very brightly. This is useful but not nearly as bright, and it just cannot be activated as quickly with a double click. Next, let's take a look at the GPS accuracy. Next to the classic GPS, both watches also offer other GNSS systems like GLONASS, Galileo or Beidou, and they both have a multiband feature. Multiband means that multiple frequencies from multiple satellites can be accessed at the same time, which usually enhances the accuracy. But other factors like the antenna design also play a crucial role here. So how accurate are both watches? To test this, I ran the same route with both watches simultaneously through the city, farmland, forests and so on. The Epix Pro recorded the route accurately, staying on roads and paths without cutting corners. The recording was very precise and reliable. The Grid X2 Pro, shown in blue, often cut through buildings and corners, not accurately reflecting my actual route. Unfortunately, this didn't just happen once, but was something I frequently noticed during my tests. If you followed my channel for a while, you know that I also always conduct tests under more challenging conditions. For this, I go into the woods and run back and forth on narrow forest trails. Ideally, the recorded route should overlap perfectly. And again, the Garmin Epix Pro in red shows a more accurate results, with the red routes almost exactly overlapping, a near perfect outcome. The Epix Pro in blue also performs well, so this is criticism at a high level, but given the price, such criticism should be justified, and my experience shows that the Garmin watch has an edge in GPS accuracy. Overall, the differences in outdoor features are definitely significant, with the Garmin Epix Pro clearly having the advantage. Next, let's talk about the sports, fitness and health features. First of all, both watches have different menu structures. With Polar you navigate sideways through the widgets, always seeing one widget per screen. With Garmin you move vertically and have what Garmin calls widget overviews, where you see several widgets per screen and can click on them for more details. Which of those you prefer is a matter of personal taste and likely depends on what you're used to. This also applies to many of the widgets and features in general, as both the Polar and Garmin ecosystems have many similar features under different names. One slightly confusing aspect about Polar is that the step counter does not only count steps, but it also counts steps when you're cycling, for example. So Polar is just seeing this more like an activity counter than a step counter. They just want to avoid that if you're cycling all day, the step counter says 0 steps, meaning like, yeah, it looks like you have been inactive the whole day. Well, in fact, you have been active. It wasn't steps, it was more activity. This is how Polar sees the thing. So yeah, for many people this is quite confusing. I just wanted to mention it here. For training, both watches offer many different modes, including a multi-sports mode for triathletes. One difference is that on the Epix Pro you can display up to 8 data fields on one screen during training, whereas the Epix Pro only allows 4. This might be annoying for data enthusiasts, but both watches certainly don't lack data options. Besides the classics, both watches can calculate advanced metrics like cadence or running power in watts. However, some super advanced statistics can only be calculated by the Epix Pro, such as vertical ratio or ground contact time. For pre-planning a workout, Garmin offers the Pace Pro feature. You can load a route and automatically adjust your speed to the profile of the route, running slower on steeper sections and faster on flat sections. This suggested pace is then displayed on the watch. You can also create various pace strategies yourself. Outside of training, both watches show your training status, indicating the long-term effects of your current training and the stimuli you are applying. However, I think that Garmin breaks this down a bit better, showing all factors affecting your training status, such as your acute training load. This indicates whether your load is in the optimal range or if you've been training too much or too little in recent days. This is also broken down into aerobic and anaerobic load, and so on. In the training readiness widget, you see a combination of your training status and recovery data, indicating how ready you are for your next workout. This considers how intensively you've trained and how well you've recovered to determine if you're ready for your next intensive training session. Garmin also offers the body battery, which indicates your remaining energy reserves. Additionally, there's the hill score widget, a score from 0 to 100 indicating your fitness for hill running, and the endurance score, which is essentially a cross-sport VO2 max value. However, on the other hand, Polar also offers some exciting features that Garmin doesn't. For example, I really like Polar's Sleepwise feature. It helps you understand how sleep improves your alertness and readiness for the day. Additionally, it also shows the energy boost your sleep gives you for the upcoming day. Another feature is Fuel-Wise. With this one you can set up automatic reminders for carbs or water intake for specific training sessions or competitions. And you can also set up manual reminders if you want. Polar in general takes a very holistic approach here, so they focus a lot on the overall well-being, health, and terms such as the internal clock, for example. So the algorithms and all of the widgets are very sophisticated in this regard. Garmin, on the other hand, offers much more specific training features. For some people, however, this might even be too much. In the end, the choice between the two ecosystems of Garmin or Polar is also a matter of personal taste. Personally, I lean towards the Epix Pro because I love to collect all kinds of data, and in this regard, Garmin definitely offers more. One more thing worth mentioning is that you can store music directly on the Epix Pro and listen to it without needing your smartphone. Unfortunately, the Epix Pro doesn't have music storage. In general, Garmin also has the edge in smart features. For example, you can make contactless payments with the watch and use the Connect IQ Store to download additional widgets. Finally, let's talk about the accuracy of the optical heart rate measurement. Both watches feature the latest sensors from their respective manufacturers. To test the accuracy here, I wore both the watches and a chest strap simultaneously during my workouts and then compared both datasets afterwards. Here we can see one of my running sessions with the Epix 2 Pro data in red and the chest strap data in blue. As we can see, the watch did an extremely good job. The heart rate increase is only minimally delayed and the two curves are almost identical afterward. The average heart rate differs by only 0.11 beats per minute from the chest strap, a perfect result. This second running session also looks very good. There was a small hiccup in the middle and at the end, but overall it's still a very good recording. The average heart rate again differs by less than half a beat per minute, so you can definitely rely on the watch for running. Next, the same test for the Epix Pro. Again, the two curves are almost identical. At the beginning, the watch took a few seconds, really not long, to recognize the quick heart rate increase, but then it perfectly matched the chest strap and recorded flawlessly afterward. The average heart rate was 179.2 according to the watch and 178.81 according to the chest strap, so the values differ by less than half a beat per minute as well, another perfect result. But now onto a significantly more challenging part, strength training. Starting with the Epix 2 Pro, the measurements are obviously not as accurate as during running due to various factors, but the two curves are at least similar, resulting in an above average accurate measurement. The average heart rate deviates by only about 4 beats from the chest strap, which is acceptable. This second session didn't produce the most accurate result, but it's still definitely above average compared to other watches, including the Epix Pro, whose results we see here. Here there are parts where the recording is quite accurate, but also parts where the watch's heart rate is 40 to 50 beats off from the chest strap. I tested this in many different sessions and consistently had the same unsatisfactory results. So in terms of the heart rate measurement accuracy, the Polar Epix 2 Pro is ahead. According to my experience, it is a little more accurate, but for sports like strength training or high intensity interval workouts, for example, I would always recommend using a chest strap. So, which watch is better, the Polar Epix 2 Pro or the Garmin Epix Pro? Often I conclude these comparison videos by saying that both of the watches have their pros and cons, and ultimately it depends on your personal taste. I could say the same in this video, but to be honest, for this comparison I think that there is a clear winner, and this is the Garmin Epix Pro. By the way, as in all of my videos, I'm not sponsored by either one of the manufacturers, so I can freely express my opinion, and yeah, in my opinion, the Garmin Epix Pro is just a way better choice in this price range. The Polar Epix 2 Pro has its advantages, and I even slightly prefer its design. It's super robust, high quality, and has a large range of features. However, the Garmin Epix Pro also has these qualities, plus significantly better and more sophisticated navigation features. The GPS accuracy was also significantly better in my tests with the Epix Pro. In my opinion, the few areas in which the Polar Epix 2 Pro is ahead, such as also the heart rate measurement accuracy, are very minor differences, while there are significant differences in those areas in which the Garmin Epix Pro has the edge. An alternative to both watches could be the Suunto Race, another AMOLED outdoor sports watch that is significantly cheaper as well. The predecessor of the Epix Pro, the standard Epix, is also still a great choice and could be another option to save some money. But for now, let me know in the comments section down below what you think of these watches. If you found this video helpful or interesting, you could really support me and my work here by giving this video a quick thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any more reviews or comparisons like these, you should definitely subscribe to this channel. But for now, thanks a lot for watching and see you next time.